face substantial hikes in their property taxes because of increases announced by school divisions. Some are looking at increases as high as 9.3%. Wabkanu says now is the time to be investing in education, but he says they plan to find ways to offset the hike.
Finding a balance between that and then the cost of living. I don't want to see people pay higher taxes. So I think we're going to have some help in the budget on the education property tax front, and we might be asking the top 1% to help us out with that.
This past year, the province increased funding to school divisions by 3.5%. Winnipeg drivers are closer to having to ease up on the gas. Yesterday, the Public Works Committee voted to ask the province to change the Highway Traffic Act, allowing the city to drop the default speed to 40 kilometers an hour from the current 50. Councillor Janice Lukes is Public Works Chair. She says she often gets calls from people saying vehicles are going too fast. Lukes says if the city gets the provincial go-ahead, Council will vote to reduce the residential speed to 40.
It takes 18 seconds more to go 40 versus 50. This is only in residential neighborhoods, not the collectors, not the primary, not the priority ones, just the residentials.
Canoe says the city can make those changes on its own. He says if the province makes the change, it could impact all municipalities, not just Winnipeg. And that is the CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local CBC News is at 1:30.
Thanks, Rosanna. Sorry for getting to you late. I had kids in here, you know.
No worries.
I was having a lot of fun here by myself with a bunch of high school kids. But would you ever go back after grade 12 did you ever think of that? Going back to high school?
Going back to high school
Yeah.
to visit or?
No, for like another year program. That's what those kids did from Sisler.
I'm okay.
Yeah. I hear you. Thanks, Rosanna.
You're welcome.
That's Rosanna Hempel at our news desk. And now we turn for a complete provincial forecast to the one and only Riley Lachuk. Hi, Riley.
Another cloudy one out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of dreary, isn't it?
It is. I didn't like the snow either, but apparently it's not the end of it.
You know, I'm looking at our live camera right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like suspended flurries at the moment.
Yeah.
They're not really making it to the ground.
Floaty.
They're just kind of floating.
Yeah.
This what you see is what you get really through the rest of the afternoon through the Red River Valley. There's a bit more snow into northern parts of the province. Right now, the city is at -11, a northeast wind at 15. As expected, a bit on the breezy side here and there. Looking at -14 in Brandon, Thompson's -17 right now, Churchill at -21. There is a freezing drizzle advisory. I was anticipating this being issued just because of what we're expecting through the White Shell, southeastern parts of the province and into northwestern Ontario, the result of this next warm front that nudges its way into the province as we get through the later part of the day today. There is a risk that we do see maybe some freezing drizzle here in the Red River Valley in the city of Winnipeg later afternoon, early evening. But the best chance that, as I've been talking about for the past day or so, into northwestern Ontario and the extreme southeastern corner of the province. So clouds will feature. There is some snow working its way through the Interlake and through the Parkland as we get through the rest of the day. No major accumulations, but certainly just be aware that we are looking at potentially some blowing snow with some of the wind that we've seen out there. As we get into the night, that's when we see that risk of freezing drizzle ramping up as we get through the overnight hours into the southeastern corner of the province, pre-dawn into northwestern Ontario. But by the time we get to late afternoon tomorrow, we do start to get into some clearing. So Saturday, starting on a sunny note, and then there's another system that'll work its way across northern Manitoba. And the frontal system along with this one could trigger some showers even as we get later Saturday into early Sunday, because temperatures will be popping up above the freezing mark as we get through the later part of Saturday. So a bit of up and down coming through the next couple of days. Temperatures by this afternoon, I'm looking at around -4 in Winnipeg. Will likely continue to climb closer to -3 or -2 even by the time we get to late evening tonight. Temperatures in the west staying around -10, -7 tomorrow in Winnipeg, +3s for Saturday into Sunday, and then back down to -9 again by next Tuesday. So just prepare for that roller coaster.
-9 by next Tuesday.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can sign up for that, but the weekend looks good.
Yeah, the weekend is looking pretty decent, aside from a few showers in the south and some snow in the north.
Very nice. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
That's weather specialist Riley Lachuk. You can see him at 6 o'clock on CBC TV. 12:37 right now on Radio Noon. I'm excited for this conversation, and we're going to ask you to call in. We are also streaming live on YouTube on our CBC Manitoba account. You can catch us live because we're talking about Winnipeg Folk Fest. Today, the Folk Fest lineup will be released. And for Manitoba festival goers, it's a very anticipated day. Later this afternoon, the lineup will be revealed. But before they do that, we want to hear your best predictions. Who do you think will be headlining in Birds Hill this summer? Or who would you like to see headline? Who was your favorite headliner? And we will not turn your call away if you want to phone and just share some Folk Fest memories, because I know you've got them. We'll just get into the headspace of July, Folk Fest, warm weather, sun, sunsets, music. That's what we're going to talk about today. You can give us a call, 204-780-0893. That's 204-780-0893. You can also call us toll-free, 1-800-268-5483. That's 1-800-268-5483. You can text us, 204-588-7355. That's 204-588-7355. Or you can watch live on YouTube. And thumbs up, May, TikTok today as well? Yeah, thumbs up. We are on TikTok as well, and you can leave us comments there. Joining me in studio after all those numbers is our favorite music historian, John Einarson. Welcome back.
Bruce, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. It's been a little while. I have to ask you, if you were in charge of the Folk Fest, who would be headlining?
I think, well, my focus is always on Manitoba music. I'd love to see William Prince.
Yes, of course.
I mean, he has reached an international stature now. He's won Juno Awards. He's toured, outside of Canada for sure. I mean, Neil Young picked him personally to open his shows a few years ago in the States and across Canada. I think he's ready for it. I think that people would appreciate seeing a local guy.
Well, I've said before when, being on the weekend shows and we're playing a lot more music on the weekends usually because we have the extra time. And every time I hear a William Prince song, whether it's new or old, I'm floored by his talent and his ability to sort of write a song. But I can't think of a William Prince song that I don't really care for. I embrace them all. They just fit somehow.
He's a world-class artist. He's a world-class storyteller too.
Yeah.
Though,
I agree. 204-780-0893 is our number. We've already got a text message from Denzel who said, I'd love to see Mumford & Sons, Blue Rodeo, Noah Dirksen, or Camp headline Folk Fest. That is quite the lineup. Mumford & Sons, Blue Rodeo, Noah Dirksen, or Camp. You can call us and add to that, or you can text us, 204 I've got the number here somewhere. 588-7355. That is 204-588-7355. Or you can leave us comments on YouTube or TikTok. How important is a lineup to festival success? Does it make or break a festival? Some people are setting their holidays around the Folk Fest. They're going to go whoever's on stage or not, right?
And that tends to be the case. Does a headliner bring in more people? They might bring in some, but the chances are the people who go to the Folk Fest are going to go no matter who's there. And a number of years ago, Mitch Podolak, who's the godfather of it all, he said to me there was a survey amongst organizers of outdoor music festivals and folk-type festivals across North America, and the survey results came back saying that no matter who's headlining, people will still go.
Right.
You will not see... I know the Folk Festival for years has been trying to get Neil Young. But I mean, his asking price is, $250,000.
That's a lot.
To pay him that, are they going to make that up in increased numbers of people who weren't going to go going?
Right.
And generally that's not the case. People go, they get excited about acts they've never heard before. Well, you know what it's like. I mean, I was a Bulgarian singing group last year, 2 years ago. It blew me away. And it wasn't like I was saying, I'm going to go see the Bulgarian group. And it doesn't, having a headliner doesn't necessarily change those numbers. So I'll be interesting to see today who they have as a headliner. That's not going to cost $250,000.
No, probably not. I remember seeking out Charles Bradley one year. It seems like a long time ago now. I can't really place it. Perhaps around 2010 or 2012 or something like that. Charles Bradley, deceased now, but cool singer. Like sometimes it will. I'm sure Bonnie Raitt sort of brought out some more too, because she's not always considered folk, right?
Well, and that's the thing about the folk festival is it's not exclusively folk anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I suggested to Mitch years ago they should be calling it the World Festival because it's world music. But his reaction and response was, well, we're branded.
Yeah,
everybody knows it as the folk festival.
Yeah.
But when you look back at like the granddaddy of folk festivals, which is the Newport Folk Festival in '59, it had not just guys on acoustic guitars playing. It had gospel singers. It had bluegrass artists. It had gospel singers, the Clara Ward singers, all of that. So there always was an element of eclecticism about the idea of a folk festival, because folk music means music of the people. And it comes from that kind of notion from the 1600s of classical music is for the upper crust. Folk music is music for the illiterate masses, I guess.
Right. And once you've picked a name and it becomes so iconic, I mean, I'm sure they've even thought or maybe even talked about briefly changing the name from Winnipeg to maybe Manitoba or something to sound more inclusive. But I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can touch a...
I think this is year 52. I think by this point, that's the name. And that's the name that resonates with everybody.
Yeah.
And you are drawing talent from all over the world, and certainly, yes, from Manitoba. But it very much has a world focus, and I think that's a great thing. It's never strayed much into rock and roll. Right. Although, I don't know if you remember the time the Crash Test Dummies played there. It was a bit controversial at the time.
Oh, I don't remember the controversy. Tell me more.
Well,
you're the historian.
Well,
what do you remember?
Without naming names, one of the guys in the band who happens to sing was a little tipsy. And they also played really loud. So it was kind of like a Bob Dylan 1965 thing. No booing, but it was controversial. So they've stayed away from that. And they don't need to be bringing in Metallica to close the weekend.
Of course not. I got a comment from a TikTok commenter. Olorin on TikTok says, Steve Bell, local but known around the world. Good point.
And the thing about Steve Bell is, yes, he's Christian contemporary music, but he's not singing Jesus Loves Me, Yes, I Know.
Yeah.
His songs are very thoughtful songs, and they're spiritual in the sense of being broadly spiritual. So whatever religious faith you have or none at all, you can find something in his music.
And he's great to listen to as well. YouTube commenter Murad7577 says, Jacob Collier. Jacob Collier is really riding a wave of fame as well. Jacob Collier, I don't know if it'd be hard to pin down what exactly the genre is that he plays. He's a piano player. Got a text message from Tom, says, I would love to see Gogo Bordello play Folk Fest. They would be a hit with the dancing crowd for sure. Yeah, I agree. The dancing is an important part of it as well, right?
Just free expression dancing.
Exactly. Yeah. If you want to call it dancing. Phone numbers to call. Share a story with us from Folk Fest, 204-780-0893. That's 204-780-0893. Or you can text us, 204-588-7355. We'll welcome your input or your contribution to this conversation. Everybody loves talking about Folk Fest. You mentioned 52 years. I think mathematically that works out, but wasn't last year their 50th sort of celebration?
Yes.
Something like that? Yeah. Tell us about the origins 50 years ago, 1974, the first year.
Yeah, there was Winnipeg Centennial year. And so Mitch and Colin Gorey, who was an architect, they got together and put in application for funding for a centennial event, a folk festival, outdoor music festival. And initially they were going to be in LeBarrier Park.
Oh.
And when they checked it out, and Colin was very, very, very good about checking out entrances and exits and moving people around, and he said it wasn't appropriate. So they eventually settled on Birds Hill Park, which is a great place for it. It is where it's always going to be.
It's perfect, really.
And Mitch, I don't know if I'm sure you know Mitch and you've met him. He was an avowed communist. I know we say socialist because it's a little more palatable than communist.
It was okay to say it back then?
Yeah. No. And his idea was always, I mean, he applied for it and got the grant, $77,000 for a one-off.
Oh, yeah.
Centennial event. But in his mind, it was never one-off. It was going to be something that was going to carry on. And he also wanted, again, keeping with this idea of music of the people, he wanted a socialist focus. He wanted to get people together and listen to music that had, again, this kind of, I keep saying music of the people, kind of a vibe to it, and to spread issues of socialism around. And as long as he was kind of the head of it, that there was always that angle to it. Although he wasn't having, someone come up and speak about socialism, whatever. But that was always his kind of guiding light. But over the years, it moved away from that. There's no sense of any kind of political agenda in the Folk Fest at all. It's just great music, and it's music that you don't hear on the radio.
Right. Certainly not anymore. But now, it is. On a number of levels, but were there other festivals happening at the time that influenced?
Well, certainly they drew from Newport, but
Yeah.
the Mariposa Festival
Right,
had been going on since 1961, just outside of Toronto.
Yeah.
And it remained folk-oriented, folk music-oriented. It wasn't quite as eclectic as what Newport was or what Mitch and Colin set up here in Manitoba. And they played a little bit of subterfuge, too. They had no money for advertising. So they just kind of word of mouth spread the word. Bruce Cockburn is coming to play for nothing in Birds Hill Park on this date. And of course the word spread, and he became, whether he knew it or not, he became the first headliner of the Folk Fest.
Very interesting.
But we didn't almost have a folk festival if Mitch had listened to me.
Oh, why is that?
I was living on Gertrude, 608 Gertrude, a 3-story old house. Mitch and his wife were on the main floor, nice suite. I was in the attic there. And Mitch used to see me going up the stairs with my guitar case because I was going to university, but I was in Red Rider then.
Yeah.
And he stopped me one day and he said, "Hey, I see you play guitar. What do you think about a folk festival?" This is in 73. And I looked at him and said, "Nah, it'll never work." Because I wanted Woodstock.
Yeah, you were the rock. You were the rock
guy.
Yeah.
You know that.
I saw those pics. That haircut. So you had said, it'll never work.
Yeah.
And
I wanted screaming guitars, not screaming banjos.
Of course. That's funny. Let's go to a phone line here. Hi, Grace.
Hello.
Hi. What do you got?
Hi there. Nice to hear your dulcet tone and noon, Bruce.
Thanks, Grace.
Yes, so my choice would be Colin James, and I know he's been at the Folk Fest before,
Yes.
and it was good to hear that it doesn't have to specifically be folk music. So, and of course, I'm biased because my son Jeffrey Hicks is Colin's drummer.
Drummer. Yeah.
And, Colin's been touring all over America for the longest time, and I think it's time we bring him to Winnipeg.
Haven't seen Colin James around these parts for a while.
No, that's right. He's really trying to make his name in America, but...
Couldn't get him off the radio in the 90s. Heard him everywhere. Excellent. Thanks, Grace. Will you be going this year?
No, I won't be going. No, it's just a bit too hot there for me. So
Gotcha.
I have been in the past and spent my time in the under canvas at the beer, whatever it's called, where you can drink some beer.
Sure. Thanks.
That's about it. But
Thanks for the call.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You can give us a call, 204-780-0893, or you can text us, 204-588-7355. And here are a couple of text messages. One from Dwight, the Decemberists. That's a good choice, yeah.
That's a
Camp, Billy Bragg. Oh, Billy Bragg. He's
been there before.
Many times, I think. And Wilco. I think Wilco has only been once, I think, in the full band lineup. From Josefa, I would love to see William Prince or Don Amaro. Great picks, of course. Don't shy away from Don Amaro just because you love William Prince. They are both very, very talented individuals who Don Amaro is another local artist that just can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Well, what an idea to have the closing night being all Manitoba artists.
Mm-hmm.
And you could get Steve Bell in there. You get, Don Amaro as, William Prince and others.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Another text message from Chris. Billy Bragg. Punk folk loved by everyone. I will agree with that. You can find out all of the. I use it all the time around Folk Fest for programming music on the radio. You can go to the website for the Folk Fest, and they list all the past performers from the very first year.
Oh, they have an extensive archives, and they have a lot of film footage too. Tons of film footage going right back to the early years, and they need to get all that archived.
I didn't know that.
Folk,
really,
for sure.
That would be super interesting. Tell us about that folk sort of, I guess you could call it a folk boom of the time, right? Coming out of the 60s into the 70s, where if you're thinking of a festival in 1974, a folk festival isn't sort of out of the question. How involved were you? Of course, you were a rocker, like we've already established, but how much were you or were you not into folk music? Like everybody knows Peter, Paul, and Mary, right? The Guthries.
And that's where I go back to. It's like 1958 Kingston Trio. They're the ones with Tom Dooley that kicked off this whole folk boom. And all of a sudden, folk music went from being kind of on the fringes of popular music to being on the charts. I mean, Tom Dooley went to #1.
Yeah.
And that begat the new Christy Minstrels and, Joan Baez and everybody else. So we had this huge folk music market that was happening on colleges in Canada and the United States and coffee houses as well. Up until 64, the Beatles come in, it's back to rock and roll. But folk music never went away. It still carried on. It may not have been selling on the pop charts. Like I wrote a book on Ian and Sylvia because I loved them.
Yeah.
And Ian said that when the Beatles thing happened, we still continued to work. He said we worked three times. We work on a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday at a different college in the United States every night, and then be home for the rest of the week. And the Beatles didn't touch us, and we didn't sell as many records, but we were still gigging.
Yeah.
What happened is the whole singer-songwriter thing that we saw in the late 60s, early 70s, the James Taylors and all of that's directly related to the folk boom of the late 1950s. And you see those artists, and Jackson Browne and Leonard Cohen and Neil Young, drawing their roots and drawing connections to the folk boom that happened then too. They rode out, or they were a part of rock and roll. But that singer-songwriting thing where it was about the song.
Yeah.
And rock and roll isn't always about the song. It's about the beat. So it never went away, and it still continued to carry on. But the big singer-songwriter thing happened in 69, 70, James Taylor's on the cover of Time magazine. That sort of thing happened then. And then, again, all sorts of different kind of music, heavy metal and hard rock and Led Zeppelin and all that came along. But it never went away. It's always been there.
It's kind of still around. Don't we just call it roots now? Or
Well, we do. Or we definitely call it roots. Call it singer-songwriter as well.
Yeah.
I just finished the draft for a book that's coming out this fall on Bonnie Dobson. And she's a Canadian singer-songwriter. She predates Leonard Cohen and Joni Mitchell and everybody else. She's Canadian. She started playing in American folk clubs when she was 19 in 1959. But she wrote an iconic song called Morning Dew. And Morning Dew's been covered by almost 100 different artists. Mm-hmm. And she wrote it as a folk song, and then it became a rock song. But she rode the whole folk boom thing into the singer-songwriter thing, and now she's like an elder stateswoman of folk music.
I think it's great to have you here talking about the past. I kind of talk to people here who tend to be a lot younger than me, and I just tell them stories from a long time ago, and they just kind of look at me. And got one more text here that says, it's no name on the text, but it says, Bellowhead, one of the very best performances ever. Do I know Bellowhead? I think you'd remember a name like that. Thanks for the info. I'll look that one up for sure. Thanks for texting. And John, just tell us quickly, how was that first year from your memory? Was it a success?
Yeah, it was 22,000 people came.
Wow!
And they had enough money in the grant to be able to cover the expenses. So it was successful enough to warrant doing it again. And thank goodness they carried on, because the Folk Festival had some lean times, for sure, over the 50 years that it's there. But it's endured, and as we spoke about earlier, it has a brand, and that brand is known internationally. And although, the predominant people going to the festival are largely from Winnipeg,
right?
But you have people coming from all over Canada, the United States, and from around the world to see this event and be a part of this event. And it's not like I'm going to see William Prince. I'm going to the Winnipeg Folk Festival,
right?
And you're going to take in all those acts, and that's great about it. I run into former students there. And I'll say, "Oh, who'd you come to see?" "Oh, no, we're just here for the fun."
Yeah.
You know? And they go see different artists and they camp out.
There's
and
that as well. And
whatever the heck they
there are
do.
people who go there just to be able to have a sort of a discovery experience,
Yes.
hoping to
'Cause
discover
you know,
somebody that-
you never know what's coming up that
Yeah.
you've never heard of, and you might be blown away by it.
I'm happy that, if those lean years were now, I'm not sure that they would continue on with the festival, right? I'm glad that those lean years were sort of tolerated and then they kept it going. I mean,
Yes,
we're
for
really
sure.
at a place now where it's international and it's famous. But I know here in July, I know who's not going to be here. Same people who aren't here every year from the Wednesday on till the next Monday, because it's every year. That's when they take their holidays from
Well,
work.
someone once said Wolseley becomes a a ghost town,
Yeah.
tumbleweed rolling down the
Yeah,
streets.
we're both saying the same thing. Thanks for coming in, John. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it. I enjoyed the conversation. That's John Einarson, our local music historian that we call up every once in a while to drag him on into the studio and talk about music. It is 12:57. We're nearing the end of the show. I'd like to talk to Julie Buckingham right now, who will be hosting Up to Speed. What do you got for the show?
We're going to revisit a conversation and a guest that CBC spoke to over a month ago when everything was beginning to unravel in Cuba and planes were pulling out of the area. She is a Winnipegger married to a Cuban, and they were supposed to go to Cuba next week. Of course, that's not happening. We'll get an update from her on the situation with her relatives who still live on the island, especially in the light of the fact that the people there are now dealing with a massive power blackout.
Okay, we'll be looking forward to that this afternoon. Julie Buckingham hosting Up to Speed. Thank you to May McKillop directing the show today. Jenica Sewell at the controls. The guy doing the video is Darren Morash. And Chidi Akuma puts the show together. I just sit here and wait for them to point at me and I do what they tell me. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Bruce Layton. In for Marjorie Dahos. Talk to you tomorrow at noon as well. Bye-bye.